morning, good morning, good morning. Buenos dias, hola, bonjour, como ça va, guten morgen, ni hao, and just hello to everybody, all of you, wherever you are in the world. This is the Jaira Nicole Show, and I know, as many of you know, you might be wondering, what happened to DFW News and Things? Well, I decided to change the name as I have more and more guests who are not just from the DFW, so I didn't want to limit it and make people think this is only about the DFW, because the Jaira Nicole Show brings you ordinary people from all over the world who all have extraordinary stories. So welcome, you guys. I'm so excited to be back here again, as always, every Tuesday from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. We have a really, really great show for you guys. I have four amazing guests today. I have Miss Jamese Epps, I have Miss Sharday Watkins, and I also have Mr. Rico Strong and Miss Jordan Scoville. So please be sure to stay tuned because I will bring them on shortly. And we've got a lot of different and great topics to talk about, you guys. And so today, for those of you who are from Texas, today is Texas Independence Day. And so I want to show you guys this little photo of the skyline. You can see on Reunion Tower, there's Texas lit up, and then the Texas flag. So basically on March 2nd in 1836, there was that handwritten document that proclaimed Texas was freeing itself from Mexico rule. So today, if you're a Texan, be proud, wear your boots, your hat, grab a margarita, some tacos, and celebrate today. So I'm super excited for that, you guys. And if you have any pictures of you all dressed up and stuff, please send it to me because I want to hear it. And as I always say, you guys, if you have any questions throughout the show or there's something you want to talk about or hear, please always go to the comment. Feel free. If you want to be brought on camera because you have a question for one of our guests, please do not hesitate. This show is for you guys, and I'm so excited to have you all here with me, like I said, every Tuesday. March, there's so many amazing things happening this March. Today, since it's March 2nd, but since it's the second day in March, it's also National Red Cross Month. So I want to share this news brief with you guys quickly before I bring on my first guest of the day. So stay tuned.
Make giving a part of your New Year's resolution, save a life, and donate blood.
This is a Texas Metro News 60-second news brief, sponsored in part by KeyBand Productions. You can make videos with your phone, but KeyBand makes your audience feel like they were there. KeyBand, the video people.
Every 2 seconds, someone somewhere in the United States needs blood. But as the nation battles a global pandemic, a critical blood shortage threatens the health and well-being of people who need blood. Since the start of the pandemic, many community blood drives have been canceled, sending the nation's healthcare systems into a frenzy as more people choose to isolate themselves and stay home to avoid contracting the highly contagious virus. Blood supplies continue to deplete. Now, blood care centers and other organizations are desperately calling on community citizens for help. Just one donation can save up to 3 lives. To learn more about where you can go to donate blood, visit TexasMetroNews.com.
Alrighty, you guys. So for those of you who may have missed January, which was National Blood Donors Month, it's still not too late. We're only in March and you have the whole rest of the new year. But March is National Red Cross Month, and Franklin DR declared March as that month. And since 75 years later, all of the U.S. presidents have followed suit and continued to do that. So again, just one donation can save up to 3 lives. So if you're still maybe even looking to add a New Year's resolution, and even though it's March, to your list, this is something that you can do. And I guarantee you will feel incredible after doing your part, just knowing that you're making a difference and most importantly, saving a life. So that's something that I wanted to share with you guys and for y'all to consider. So again, for those of you who are just now tuning in, this is the Jaira Nicole Show. And I thank you guys for coming out and listening and always supporting me and sharing my videos. Thank you. I want to say hi to my cousin, Kim, who's tuning in. And I love when you guys shout me out and say hi and things like that. It always puts a smile on my face to know that I'm on here talking to you guys and educating you guys on something, and then you guys educate me as well. So this is a two-way relationship, two-way street. So you guys, we're going to talk about occupational therapy, and I don't know if any of you are familiar or you're like me, you know nothing about it, because I know I didn't know anything. But guess what? I have one of my good friends here, Jamese Epps, who has her master's of occupational therapy, and she is going to come on here in just a couple of minutes and share with us and educate us, so you will leave here learning something maybe that you didn't know, or if you knew something about occupational therapy, I guarantee you her knowledge on the subject will let you come out with a new perspective. So I'm super excited for that. I'm going to go on a quick break, and then we will be right back with Ms. Beautiful Jamese Epps. So don't go away, you guys. Stay tuned. And again, this is the Jaira Nicole Show every Tuesday from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Central Time. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to bring Miss Jamese Epps on the screen. Jamese!
Hi, Jaira.
How are you?
I'm well. I can't complain.
I'm glad to have you on the show. So let me just give you guys a little bit of a background between Jamese and I. Her and I both went to Xavier University, XU. That's kind of when we met. Jamese and I have some crazy stories that we'll have to share with you guys later of just good old college days in New Orleans. She tweeted me the other day about staying out late on till like 6 or 7 in the morning on Bourbon Street, and the many of times that we did that and have so much fun. But I'm just so glad to have you here on the show. And so I want to go ahead and let you introduce yourself to everybody, and then we will dive into the conversation from there.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jamese Epps. I'm from DC, and I went to school at Trinity Washington University, and I recently graduated with my master's in OT.
So the first question that I have for you, Jamese, is just the general question, which is, what is occupational therapy? Because if anybody out there, of the viewers are out there like me, there's times where you might be scrolling on social media, or you read something, you see something on the news, and you see something like occupational therapy, and you hear about it, but you don't really know what it is. And so I was like, I don't know what this is. I want to get to know what this, learn more about this and what this is. Is it something I could benefit from? So can you just start off with sharing what exactly is occupational therapy for those who may be like me and know nothing about it?
Okay, so that's funny. A lot of people don't know, actually. So occupational therapy is a healthcare profession where we work with people across a lifespan, participate in meaningful daily occupations. I know that's not saying a lot. So basically, in the layman's terms, like, we work on your activities of daily living, and which is a meaningful occupation, whatever other meaningful occupations people want to work on. So when I say activities of daily living, we're helping people work on like everything you do from the time that you get out of bed to the time you get back into bed. So literally getting out of bed, dressing, showering, going to the bathroom, instrumentals of daily living, like going shopping, money management, like everything you would do in a day. Like, yeah.
Wow.
Work, ergonomics, aging in place, everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very broad field.
Okay, so it's obviously it sounds so great and so interesting, and it almost sounds like anybody can benefit, right, from occupational therapy. So why do you feel like it's one of those healthcare professions that kind of get overlooked, or you may not hear about as much as some of the other ones?
Okay, wow, there's a lot I could say about that. Well, for one, I think any OT could tell you that we need to advocate for our profession more. Because there have been times where I've walked into a room and, I'm called the nurse or the physical therapist, and I'll like correct them. And then later on, I'll see them later and they're like, oh, thanks for the PT. And that's like, no, I'm your OT. And, it happens so much, we may not necessarily correct them, but we need to do that more. Also, I feel like if you haven't heard of OT, it's probably because you've never had one. And a lot of times, unfortunately, in the healthcare profession, I've met doctors and who've never heard of OT, and doctors are usually the ones who refer you to OT. So if they've never heard of our profession, how can they refer you to us, and how can we help you, So.
Wow, that's really interesting because, like I said, I hadn't heard of it. Yeah, I was thinking when I was reading a little bit about occupational therapy, I was trying to like say to myself, is it physical therapy? But like, what is this? So that definitely gives us some insight on why it's kind of overlooked. So tell me a little bit about, you got your master's, which congratulations.
Thank you.
I know that's just like, it's such a great feeling. And so we're all, as a good friend of yours, I'm proud of you. As person in general, we're just also happy and proud of you. Tell me about trying to get through graduate school in the middle of the pandemic, in the middle of COVID. What were some of the challenges of that? I can only imagine trying to go to grad school, law school, any, medical schools during COVID. Just virtual school for kids right now is a challenge. But what was that like?
So it's a lot, I can tell you. So right when like COVID hit, I had finished all like my in-person classes. So luckily I didn't have to do any of the class online.
Okay.
But I was in my second rotation of my clinicals, or field work as we call it, which means I'm basically doing the job of an OT, like in person. So I'm like in a facility. So basically I was going to this, facility in Virginia every day, and you're supposed to do about 3 months at each facility. So I was about at the halfway point at the 6-week mark, and all of a sudden, like, I was told I couldn't come back.
Oh my God.
So it was completely interrupted because of COVID. And then unfortunately we found out, like, after they had told me I couldn't come back, that like a lot of our patients ended up getting COVID. So I was sitting at home for about 3 months. So maybe until like the end of June, early July, because that happened in March. Because right before the lockdown happened. And then my school had to find me a completely different placement. So I was doing field work online, pediatric field work online through a clinic in Atlanta from here in DC. So, yeah.
That sounds super stressful. Is there any advice or anything you would give to someone who's interested in occupational therapy or trying to get through grad school during the pandemic and still, may not be able to return to in-person classes? Is there any advice or tips you could offer in regards to how to overcome and deal with that?
Yes. I would say a big helping part would be my classmates, lean on your classmates, like, help each other out, especially like if you don't understand something, because I found that my professors definitely loved when we talked to each other first before we went to them and panicked about how we didn't understand something. So make sure that you do your part, because a lot of times working together to help you figure out what's going on. And I would definitely say that my classmates definitely helped me through the hardest part of all of this. So definitely lean on your classmates. Make sure that you use all of like your resources that are available to you, whether that be like evidence-based practice online or all of your books? Because, your professors are probably overwhelmed as is, so they might not be able to get back to you immediately. So I would definitely say that.
That's good. So what led you to decide to join it, up into this world of occupational therapy? When did it pique your interest? When you were first at Xavier, is it something that you always knew you were going to do, or did it kind of come? Oh, no. So tell us, we want
to. So as you know, like everybody else at Xavier, I came in as a biology major, but I didn't think I was going to be a doctor. I wasn't pre-med. So I thought I was going to be a marine biologist. Yeah. Okay. So I came in as a biology major and flunked bio, and then went undecided for a year and a half, and then became a psych major. And it wasn't until my senior year at Xavier, I think my first semester of my senior year, I was taking health psych, and I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do with psychology. But I always knew I wanted to do something hands-on, like work with people, and I knew I wanted a really rewarding career, and because I just knew the office thing just wasn't for me,
Right.
So an OT was supposed to come to class to talk to us about occupational therapy, and just the way that Dr. Hammer was talking about what OT was, because unfortunately the presenter wasn't able to come because she had some type of miscellaneous thing going on. And but the way she talked about it, it just struck a nerve, and I was like, I think this is it. So I reached out to I can't remember her name anymore, unfortunately, but I reached out to her and I got her information, and we just started talking, and I just was had my epiphany moment, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to do.
That's good. And it's kind of funny because I feel like this is a little bit of an insider. It made me laugh when you mentioned everybody else in Xavier coming into being, biology. But I think your story is so fascinating because it kind of just goes to show you can go to school and start one thing and think that this is what you want to do, but you're called in another direction. And you're still, look at you now, you have your master's in it, and it's funny, you said your senior year, it's not even throughout your whole duration of college, you were oh, I know I want to be an OT.
No.
I think that's really amazing. And it kind of also shows how just by more people coming out and talking about, occupational therapy, maybe, instead of it being overlooked, more people will, become interested, and you'll have more people. So let's talk a little bit about representation. Have you found as a woman, and not only just a woman, but as a Black woman, that there's a lot of African American occupational therapists? Would you say yes, no? Do you think there needs to be more? No.
No, actually, the AOTA put out a statistic. AOTA is the American Occupational Therapy Association. They put out a statistic back in 2015 saying that people who identified as African American Black, who were therapists, only made up 3% of the population. So actually, yes, OT is a woman-led field, but specifically a white woman-led field. So there aren't a lot of faces that look like mine in it.
Like yours. Wow. Yeah. So have you kind of just used that in a way to just kind of motivate you and encourage you to keep going even more, in hopes to see, more people, more women of color, I would say, kind of jump into this field? And why do you think it's more so a woman-led field? Is there anything that you could, kind of draw from to make you kind of think why women, are leading this field?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you want the whole history. I can give you that. Okay, so back in 1917, we started. That's when the field started. So that's around the time of the First World War, right?
Right.
So OT started as so a lot of women started coming in to work on the fact that soldiers were getting injured and they were losing their quality of life, basically, coming home, and they didn't know what to do. So we'd work on meaningful tasks with them to increase their mental health and just their overall joy. So that's really how OT got started during the First World War. So we actually got our start in mental health. So
wow, did not know.
Yeah. So, and during that time, women, of course, were seen as, caregivers. I mean, we're still seen as that today, but we're seen as caregivers. So we were in charge of that because during those tasks, we were doing more like arts, crafts, things that would make people, I guess, feel more good about themselves, feel like they have a purpose.
Right.
So that's how it started with women, definitely. But I do think that Black women could be in it more. And especially Black people in general, but Black women, because I mean, there's not a lot of men in the profession either.
Right.
But I would say Black women specifically, because it's just the way that when you walk into a patient's room, because automatically, and they're also Black, like automatically we know that there's a distrust of the healthcare profession in the Black community. So when you walk into the room and they see that you look like them, it's like a completely different feeling. The way that they talk and they act, they're more open to you, they're more understanding. Because a lot of times they come in and they already they've seen 150 people and they've been disturbed, they've been up in the middle of the night, they've been taking medication, they're ornery, they don't want to talk to you. But when they sometimes it's just you getting close and personal, and they see that you look like them and that you're going to understand them, it's the most rewarding feeling in the world, knowing that they've opened up to you and you're helping them get to where they want to be. So
wow,
absolutely.
So I know you're talking a little bit about why it's so rewarding. So for people on the other end who are receiving the occupational therapy, what are some of the main benefits you would say are and some of the challenges as well? What are people kind of just your patients kind of trying to overcome in this I don't even know what word I'm trying to look for, but
yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say.
The biggest challenges patients face, unfortunately, it's definitely the system, insurance and state and federal policies that cut their insurance or whatever and whatever else they have going on. There are times where you're seeing a patient, you come up with a plan, because when you see a patient, you come up with a collaborative plan of treatment plan of the goals that they want to meet. And then you come up with how long, you have until you meet. And then sometimes you have to extend it. Or sometimes, unfortunately, insurance will just cut it. So you won't get as long as you thought you might with a patient. And it'll be very sudden. And it's really upsetting because patients will look to you as a therapist and be like, I'm not ready to go home. And they're really, really scared too, because they're in their most vulnerable moments because they're like, I'm not ready to go home. How am I going to do this? I can't function at home So it's my job to advocate for them with insurance companies or fighting federal or state policies and to make sure that they get what they need so that they can have a overall better quality of life.
Oh, wow.
And they definitely preach advocacy in OT school, definitely for your patients. So advocate.
Anybody out there who's interested in being an OT, you heard what you said. Advocate. So how does someone, I guess, what are kind of the guidelines where someone kind of determines I think I may need occupational therapy? Because I know you said kind of doctors, will say, I think you need this. But if I'm sitting, people who may be watching right now, or I'm just sitting, what are some of the things where I would say, can I benefit from occupational therapy? Are there any guidelines that you can kind of share with us?
Okay, so first things first, you need a referral. So you most likely will probably get a referral from a doctor, maybe a PT or whomever else you're seeing. So once you're referred to an OT, we get that, and then we do a screening to see if you need OT. And then once we determine that you need OT, we then do evaluation, and upon evaluating you, we come up with goals. We work together, the client, patient, and I work on goals to see what they want to do all sorts of things that they want to do when they want to do it by, like, before they go home or before they go back to the skilled nursing facility or all that. So, and then from the beginning, from that point, from the eval, we come up with a discharge plan so we know where we need to get them by until the end. And then they go home and live their best lives.
Fairy tale ending. So I know with like going back to COVID and this pandemic, I just feel like so many things have been, interrupted and disrupted and just pure chaos and, quite frankly, hell for a lot of people, especially between 2020. Even I would say going into this year, it's still really, really, really tough. So like in your eyes, in your opinion, how do you see the role that occupational therapy kind of plays in this whole pandemic and the role of COVID-19?
Okay, so, yes, definitely. Definitely play a part. I actually have several friends who work in hospitals with COVID patients specifically.
Okay.
And a lot of what we're doing is, so as I said earlier, OT is a big part where it's working on meaningful occupations. And, a lot of them are isolated. Well, they are isolated from everybody else. So when you're coming in, you're trying to make them feel as good as possible. So you're working on tasks that they want to work on. So you're going to work on a lot of ADLs. So that's a lot of toileting, showering, getting them up out of bed, sitting edge of bed if they have the energy. You're going to be working on energy conservation techniques because, COVID makes people feel so fatigued and so
Right.
So you're going to be working on a lot of those things. So ADLs, you're going to be working on energy conservation techniques, different breathing techniques, so that they can get as much oxygen as possible. But yeah, and maybe some leisure activities to make them feel like, because it's boring, being in bed all the time, as well as positioning so that they don't develop any bed sores.
Wow.
That nature. So yeah.
It goes into so much detail, more detail than thought. Because like I said, every day I'm seeing on Facebook like different news articles or on the news about people who even had like mild infections, right, of COVID. And now they're struggling to breathe. Are they on, or they find that just like simple activities, like just walking up a flight of stairs, even after they've had COVID and it's already, long gone, they're just constantly struggling, trying to get back. But it's funny because I'm not hearing anything about occupational therapy being mentioned in some of these articles or just, as a solution to help people. So I think it's incredible. And I'm so glad that you're sharing this with everybody so they can know, anybody who's watching, if you have a family member or a friend or coworker who is struggling and can't seem to, bounce back because of their, fight and struggle with COVID, I mean, consider OT. And if you have any questions as well, Jamese is here that I'm sure she would be more than happy to ask and all of that stuff. So is it usually, I know you said the referral process is usually you have to get referred from a doctor. So is it just kind of like a patient, like if I had COVID and then maybe I'm saying like I can't walk up a flight of stairs or I just have trouble breathing on my own, I just go to the doctor straight and just tell them about my issues and then they would just refer me just like that? Is that kind of just the general process and how it goes?
Generally, if they know what OT does, generally, so it usually has to be affecting like some type of a daily occupation of some sort. So if you have issue walking up the stairs, unfortunately, they're probably going to give you to PT. But if you have issue like, if you have an issue more so with like, you don't have enough energy to walk to the kitchen or something like that, then that's when they would invest in. Like it has to be affecting, when I say occupation, that means like anything, any task that you're doing, like in terms of like, it could be like work, it could be going to the kitchen, getting in and out of the bed, it could be eating, like bringing your hand to your mouth, like things of that nature, getting dressed, showering. We see people in their most intimate of moments. Or even just like having enough energy of getting out the car, walking to the grocery store and coming back. Like we work on
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, typically you could talk to your doctor, you could talk to another PT, you could talk to a speech therapist, and they could all refer you to us.
Wow.
Yes, it doesn't have to be just your doctor
It doesn't
specifically.
have to be. Okay. Okay. No, that's good. That's great information. And I appreciate you kind of, making sure we understand the clear, because I'm thinking it, like I said, it kind of seems like it does border physical therapy. And then you made sure to bring us back and, kind of clarify the two. Because that's what I'm saying. I don't think, not once at least in my 28 years, well, it's not even that like I've actually needed it, but like I said, I don't really even hear doctors speak about occupational therapy like that. I've heard of them talk about other things, but not that. So what would you say is the overall role that occupational therapy plays in an individual or patient receiving care's mental health? Because I just think, mental health is so broad, right? It's so broad, but what would you say that, that's the role that it plays?
I would definitely say that since we started in mental health, it's vital, because just like and OT is looking at everyone holistically. That means I'm looking at you like all of you, like, okay, because it's like usually when we see someone who is having difficulties with their mental health, it's usually, people aren't just having one issue. Sometimes it's not only the mental, sometimes it's the physical. So we're working on both tasks at the same time.
Okay.
So we believe that participating in daily activities and meaningful occupations is vital to mental health and well-being, because you don't want to do things that you don't want to do, like you're not going to be motivated to do those things.
Exactly. No, for sure. Because it's just, I think, I think what makes it so much challenging, especially if somebody maybe it was in a really bad car accident, I'm sure they could receive, occupational.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
To relearn. And, even in that moment, I would be thinking if maybe you have to relearn how to walk or just anything like that, like this, I can't even imagine that person's mental state, because there'd be times where I know for a fact you might just want to give up, right? You may be like, what's the use? Like, I'm probably just never going to walk again. It's too challenging and it's too hard. And I think it's great that occupational therapists can provide that, extra encouragement and coaching and push to get people, the help that they need. Because mental health, I think there's still so much. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? There's just so much that we need to just talk about and address in general with that. But this is something like great that I would say people can just kind of learn from and dive into. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you face so far, maybe with patients? I know you may not be able to say specific examples, but is there anything where you say, what, I guess kind of not what makes your job stressful per se, but something along the lines of that, what makes your job like really the most challenging? Is it the schedule? Is it anything like that you would say?
I would say what makes it the most stressful, I feel like, I think it really depends upon the setting. But I would say what makes it the most stressful, definitely when those insurance cuts happen, because now it's like you're in a rush. Like that timeline that you thought you had with the patient has now sometimes been cut in half or into a couple of days. So you're trying to like scramble to figure out how you're going to make this work, or trying to reach out to the insurance company to advocate for your patient and be like, no, they need more time for this reason. And then, and sometimes, unfortunately, that can be denied too. So other stresses, I would say in the field would be productivity. In the skilled nursing is a big thing in a skilled nursing facility. And what I mean by productivity is that insurance companies say that you have to see a certain number of patients within a certain amount of time, as well as get all your documentation done. And that can be and sometimes your productivity is really high depending upon the facility. I've seen places that are 90, 92, 93%. So that means you have like no wiggle room for like to do anything else. And of course, if you're working with people, it's kind of hard to fit everybody and like, I'm going to see you at this time. And of course, there's no perfect session that's going to go exactly the way that you want. So of course, time is going to go over. So I would say that that's really difficult. That I found as a new therapist. And even when I was like in doing my field work, that was definitely something I struggled with, because I was just like, you have to go so fast. And at the same time, it's about quality care. So it's really hard to give people quality care when you have somebody like over you that's like, you have to meet this, or you'll have X, Y, and Z consequences, you know?
Right. So, I love what you said about quality care. I want to talk a little bit about that. As an OT and just as a human being in general, I think people tend to define quality care differently. So for you, quality care, what does that look like for you as an OT? Like, what do you, when you think of quality care, when you think of, you know, caring for your patients and how you treat them, what does that look like to you?
So that would look like for me, definitely, usually in the healthcare profession, they go by the medical models. They're looking at the illness itself and what can we do to get rid of the illness. And the one thing that I love most about OT is the fact that we're looking at the person holistically. I'm looking at you completely. And so I'm going to use we have this thing called the therapeutic use of self. So I'm literally using myself to help have like a breakthrough moment with you. So if you're really like struggling, I'm going to sit down and talk to you like human to human, you know, like,
right.
Like have a breakthrough moment. I've had like, you know, patients cry and, you know, it's just, and, you know, and you just have to stop everything and let people have their moment and like truly listen to them, and don't just like be like, yeah, do whatever. I have this amount of time. Like I gotta go. No, like truly listen to what they need and how they're feeling. And when you have those moments, and it's really like beautiful, because then you find out like exactly how and what you can do to help them. Absolutely. So that they can meet their goals. And you'll find that when you listen to them, that your job is a lot easier too, because they know that you're going to do your best to help them, and they feel that.
Right. So. Yeah, I love that, because I find talking to people in the healthcare and different healthcare professions and fields, like that's one of the things they always say. It just seems like they don't have enough time to really give the patient, you know, the care that they would like to. And there's, you know, pressure from, of course, above, and also you have to follow this specific, you know, model and all of that stuff. It is just creating a lot of stress. But I love how you're just saying, you know, don't worry about the time. You know, if you do the right thing, if you just try to have those breakthrough moments and take your time and treat the other person literally, instead of like basically a number of people you have to treat, but like actual person, human beings, you know, it's so rewarding and worth it in the end. So Jamese, my final question for you is where's your journey go from here? What are you looking to do? We want to definitely keep up with you and what you want to do. So where do you go from here? Where do you see yourself in a couple of years from now? If you don't mind sharing with us.
Oh, of course. So currently I'm studying to pass the board exam to become an OTR. And then so in a couple of months, not even a couple of months, maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll be hearing that I passed, and I'll be, you know, I'm going to start applying for jobs, and so you're going to see me. I'm probably going to stay here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area for a while. And eventually, you know, who knows? I might end up in California or overseas. We'll see what happens. Or Dallas. You know, I haven't seen you in a while. You know,
I know. COVID is just ruining everything. I want to. Also, a little small thing about Jamese, you guys, is this girl loves to travel, and you lived in London, right, for a year?
For 6 months, yeah.
For 6 months, yeah. So I really wouldn't be surprised if you ended up, and I would be surprised if I ended up moving overseas, honestly. It would be a great reason for me to come visit. So I just want you guys to know below, I dropped her information. If you have any questions for Jamese, you can follow her on IG at meese.dc and then Twitter at it's Meesey, baby. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
I didn't want to say it's messy. Yeah, it's Meesey, baby. So to keep up with all our ventures, or like I said, if anybody out here is watching and maybe you're interested in going to OT or maybe doing a career change, I'm sure Jamese would be more than happy to answer any questions you have. Yeah. Or anything like that. So thank you so much, Jamese, for coming on here. I really appreciate it and just sharing with us, letting us know about occupational therapy, because now I am leaving here actually being able to say I know what it is. I know what it is. And if anybody I know, like I said, friends or family or coworkers who can benefit from OT, I definitely am going to do that. So thank you so much, girlie. Love you for coming on.
Thank you. I love you too. Spread the word.
Yes, we will. I'll definitely spread the word. Definitely spread advocacy. Ingrained in my mind now. So yeah, but thank you so much, and we will be in touch soon.
Okay. Bye.
All righty, you guys. I'm so happy that Jamese was able to come on the show today. I'm super excited because we have our next guest, Miss Sharday Walker, who's going to come on. And she is a Black doula. And you guys, we're going to learn so much from her. Again, I'm learning so much because I saw her article that she did and I was like, Black doula, what? I didn't even know what it is. So I'm super excited to bring her on and she's going to talk to us. So you guys don't go anywhere because we're going to take a quick break and I will be right back with her on there. So stay tuned.